All right, so you ready for this? Get ready to dive into some seriously strange, well, predictions about the future.
Sounds a little ominous.
Oh, yeah, it is. You sent us a whole bunch of listener questions and thoughts all about the scientific singularity. And let me tell you, some of this stuff gets pretty wild. We're talking about timelines,
Yeah.
for when computers will become smarter than us.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and quantum computers, like
Yeah.
the kind that would make our brains look like toys.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we've even got some people talking about the idea of humans becoming digital souls.
Digital souls.
Yeah, wild, right?
That's pretty out there.
Thankfully, expert speaker is here to help us kind of sift through it all and figure out what's what.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited to unpack all this. And it seems like the singularity is less about a single event and more about these, moments in history where everything changes kind of drastically. And the source material uses some interesting analogies to kind of explain this.
Yeah, they compare it to things like the Big Bang
Yeah.
or the heart of a black hole, like points where our understanding of the rules disappears.
Right. They just kind of break down.
Yeah.
It's like those moments when something that seems impossible suddenly becomes possible.
Right.
And what's really fascinating is that the sources actually point to several historical examples of these kinds of shifts. So like the emergence of life on Earth,
Right.
the
Yeah.
Cambrian explosion, which led to this massive diversification of species, and even the invention of the computer, which was a massive turning point in our history.
Yeah, you're right. Each of those events really redefined what was even possible at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine trying to explain the internet to someone living 1,000 years ago.
Right.
It'd sound like pure magic.
Absolutely. It would
Yeah.
just be inconceivable.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the source material actually argues that even some of the technological advancements we totally take for granted today, like the iPhone or the widespread use of personal computers, can be seen as these mini singularities.
Which makes you wonder, what are the everyday things that we use today that will seem totally bizarre to people in the future, right? It's like, you mean people used to carry around separate devices for making calls, taking pictures, and listening to music?
It's hard to imagine.
That's crazy.
Right. But it really highlights how these seemingly small, like incremental changes can actually represent these massive leaps forward when you kind of look back at them from a historical perspective. And this is where the discussion of artificial intelligence gets really interesting.
Because right now, we mostly interact with AI that's designed for very, very specific tasks.
Right.
Like we have AI that can beat grandmasters at chess.
Yeah.
But that same AI can't write a poem or tell you a joke.
Exactly. And the source material makes this clear distinction between this kind of, specialized AI and this concept of a more general AI, something that can kind of, learn and adapt across any domain, just like humans do.
Okay, so that's where things start to get a little freaky, right?
Yeah.
Because if we manage to create a machine that can truly think for itself, it could potentially surpass human capabilities in ways we can't even imagine.
Right. And especially when you consider the exponential growth of computing power. The source material mentions Moore's law, which basically states that computing power doubles every 18 months.
So it's not just that computers are getting slightly faster each year.
No.
It's this insane acceleration that has some people thinking, well, we're on the verge of creating something superhuman.
Yeah. I mean, it really is an incredible rate of advancement. And the source material, they don't shy away from exploring some of the more outlandish possibilities that come with that idea. And they actually use a lot of humor and satire to explore these potential implications of a world where humans are no longer the most intelligent beings on the planet.
Yeah, they kind of paint this picture of a future where humans are basically obsolete.
Right. I mean, think about it.
Like, if a computer can do everything better and faster,
Mm.
what's left for us to do?
Yeah.
Just sit around and watch Netflix all day.
Well, that's one possibility. But the source material also delves into some even weirder ideas, like the idea of humans evolving into digital consciousnesses, essentially becoming pure information.
Hold on. So we're talking about uploading our brains to the cloud, becoming digital souls,
Yeah, I mean,
because that's a whole other level of strange.
it definitely gets into some pretty heady territory, but I think the point the source material is trying to make, albeit in a somewhat, tongue-in-cheek manner, is that the singularity isn't just about this, technological advancement.
Yeah.
It's about like a fundamental shift in what it means to be human.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going. So it's not just about robots taking over the world. It's about questioning our place in the universe and what happens when we create something that might be, well, better than us.
Exactly. It really
Yeah.
does make you think, doesn't it? To consider that maybe, just maybe, we're not the pinnacle of creation after all.
Yeah, it's definitely humbling. But the source material doesn't just like throw out all these crazy ideas and leave it at that. They also dive into some of the ethical questions, the
Yeah.
ones that come with creating artificial intelligence.
Right. They bring up the classic idea of robot rules, like, Asimov's laws of robotics,
Right, right.
which are meant to, like, ensure that robots don't harm humans. But then they also point out how tricky it can be to actually, like, define those rules
Yep.
in a way that a super intelligent AI would actually follow.
Like, how do you even begin to program a machine to, to understand all the nuances of human morality? Like, what happens when a robot has to choose between following a rule and saving a human life?
Yeah, and it gets even more complex when you start to consider that a truly intelligent machine might, come up with its own set of ethics, which may or may not align with our own.
Right.
The source material even suggests that trying to control a super intelligent AI might be like trying to put a genie back in the bottle. Like
Yeah.
once it's out there, there's no telling what it might do.
So are we just doomed? Like, are we doomed to be enslaved by our robot overlords? Is there anything we can do to prevent this whole, like, sci-fi nightmare from becoming reality?
Well, the source material doesn't necessarily paint such a, bleak picture. They do highlight the importance of, ongoing research and dialogue to try and steer the development of AI in a direction that benefits humanity.
So it's not just about building bigger and better computers.
Right.
It's about considering the ethical implications of what we're creating.
Exactly. And that involves having conversations, not just among scientists and engineers, but across society as a whole. We need to kind of figure out what kind of future we want to build with this technology.
But even if we all agree, we get together, we have this big kumbaya, and agree on some set of ethical guidelines, how do we guarantee that a super intelligent AI would actually follow them? It's not like we can punish a robot for being bad.
It's a tough question, and the source material acknowledges that there are no easy answers. And they even use a bit of dark humor to kind of point out that, any rules or principles that we come up with today might seem hopelessly inadequate to a super intelligent AI.
Right.
It's
It's like trying to teach a goldfish how to play chess.
yeah.
The rules just wouldn't make sense to it.
That's a great analogy, but the source material doesn't, just focus on the potential dangers. They also explore some more optimistic possibilities, like the idea of humans kind of merging with AI to create this like hybrid intelligence.
Okay, now we're getting into some real sci-fi territory. Are we talking about becoming cyborgs, like something straight out of the Terminator?
It might not be as dramatic as that. They suggest that the line between human and machine could become, increasingly blurred as we develop technologies that can interface directly with our brains and nervous systems.
So not so much cyborgs as enhanced humans.
Right, exactly.
Still sounds pretty wild, though. But it does kind of tie into this idea of the singularity as a point where everything changes, right? If we're talking about literally merging with machines, that's a fundamental shift in what it means to be human.
And that's a really profound point. The source material kind of challenges us to consider not just the practical implications of all these, technological advancements, but the philosophical ones as well. What does it mean to be human in an age of superintelligence? What are the ethical boundaries that we need to establish? These are questions that we can't afford to ignore.
So it's not just about whether robots will take our jobs or turn against us. It's about what happens to our humanity when we create something, well, potentially smarter than ourselves.
Exactly. And the source material really kind of hones in on this, on the year 2045 as a potential tipping point. According to some futurists, that's the year when artificial intelligence could surpass human intelligence in a really significant way.
Okay, so 2045 is the year to mark on our calendars. Got it. But what does that actually look like? I mean, what might the world be like if this singularity actually happens?
Well, the source material, true to its style, offers some playful and occasionally unsettling speculations. They suggest that if machines can actually solve problems that have baffled humans for centuries, we could see breakthroughs in things like medicine, energy, and even space travel.
So maybe it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
There's a chance that this could actually be a good thing for humanity? Like maybe our robot overlords will cure cancer and solve climate change.
Well, the source material doesn't make any, definitive predictions, but they do acknowledge the potential for positive outcomes. And even if AI doesn't achieve, this superhuman intelligence, the advancements that we're seeing in fields like machine learning and robotics are already impacting our lives in really profound ways.
That's true. It's hard to deny that technology is changing everything around us at an incredible pace. But even with all these, potential benefits, I still can't shake this feeling of unease. It's like we're playing with fire and we don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah, it's like we're holding a match to the fuse of a giant firecracker, but we have no idea how big the explosion's going to be. But hey, maybe that's part of the excitement, right?
Perhaps. And speaking of excitement, the source material takes us even further down the rabbit hole with some truly mind-bending speculations. They even suggest that, the singularity might have already happened.
Wait, what? You mean like we're already living in a computer simulation, like created by some super intelligent AI?
Yeah, the source material presents it as a thought experiment, like a way of challenging our assumptions about, reality itself. It's kind of like that scene in The Matrix, where Neo is offered the red pill or the blue
Yeah,
pill.
right, right.
One reveals the truth, the other keeps him in blissful ignorance. Okay, so maybe we're all just plugged into some giant computer program and we don't even know it. That's both terrifying and kind of awesome at the same time. But what about this other idea, the one where humans evolve into like digital consciousnesses?
Yeah, so the source material explores the possibility of, uploading our consciousnesses into a digital realm. And they draw comparisons to, spiritual beliefs about the soul existing independently of the physical body.
So we're talking about digital souls, like our memories, our personalities, everything that makes us us.
Mm.
Could all that be transferred into a computer?
That's the idea, although, the source material acknowledges that we're nowhere near having the technology to do anything like that right now. But they do point out that, the rapid pace of advancement in neuroscience and AI makes it impossible to rule out such possibilities in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to wrap your head around.
Mm.
But like, if we could upload our consciousnesses, what would happen to our bodies? Would we just leave them behind like empty shells?
Well, the source material tackles this with a mix of humor and satire. They kind of imagine a future where humans have become so reliant on technology that they've forgotten how to function in the real world.
Okay, that's both funny and a little bit scary at the same time. I mean, I already feel lost without my phone sometimes. But even if we do, become these digital beings, surely there will still be a need for, human qualities like creativity, ingenuity.
Absolutely. And the source material really emphasizes that even in, a highly technological future, human traits like that will remain essential.
So maybe the future isn't just about robots taking over. Maybe it's about finding new ways for, humans and technology to coexist and even like enhance each other.
Precisely. And ultimately, the source material kind of leaves us with this sense of cautious optimism, the singularity. It might represent a point of like radical transformation, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this dystopian future.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners today? Like what should they be thinking about as we head toward this uncertain future?
I think the key message here is that, we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI and its impact on humanity. The choices that we make today, both individually and as a society, they're going to determine what that future looks like.
It's a good reminder that we're not just passive passengers on this like technological roller coaster. We have the power to steer it in the right direction. So to our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. Are you excited about the singularity or are you terrified? Do you think we're already living in a simulation? Head over to our social media and share your thoughts.
And until next time, keep those brains buzzing. And remember, the future is full of possibilities, and it's up to us to decide what we make of them.